Welcome, everybody. Francois from How to Become More podcast with Dr. Doreen Donning today, coming to you live and excited to actually share with heart centered and service driven entrepreneurs the way to share our message. And what better way today than sharing a message than speaking? And sometimes speaking is a stumbling block for many of us. I'm so happy to have with us today Dr. Doreen Donning, who's going to expand on this and break through speaking anxiety. Doreen, welcome.
Well, thank you so much for that introduction. I'm already feeling like we're in a playground. We're going to have some fun today.
Absolutely. That is awesome. Cool. So, tell us a little bit about you. What excited you about getting into the business, the passion that you're in right now, and what is it that you like most about what you do? Just, a little bit about yourself, professional and personal.
Well, I'm a psychologist, and believe it or not, I had speaking anxiety, and I'm sitting in my office with one person. One person is no problem, but put me out in front of a group, even just a group of other psychologists where we're talking about our cases. My heart is going boom, boom, boom. My throat is closing. I had stage fright. And I had a PhD in psychology of all things, but I was able to hide in my office.
Wow. This is something, this is powerful that and not only did you overcome it, but you like to teach others about it. But psychology, how did psychology come about? I'm a curious guy. So, what led you to go into psychology?
I think I love potential. I think I love exploring. And I know that discovery, I'm a traveler, and somehow going within ourselves and going within other people, that inner journey is like traveling to me. And I love exploring and I love the aha moment. And I think that inner exploration does that. Oh, yeah.
Excellent. I love it. And so, therefore, traveling outside and then traveling inside through psychology as well.
Yes, you got it.
That's awesome. Excellent. Cool. So, and you said that you love traveling. Whereabouts have you traveled? Just to name a few,
I
to
was in
make
the
me
Peace
jealous
Corps.
here.
I was in the
I'm
Peace Corps in Malaysia. So I traveled
Oh,
all over Southeast Asia, but I've also been, because I know Spanish, I've also traveled all over South America. And I don't know Japanese, but I've been to Japan. So, and of course, I'm going to say, of course, Europe, but that that's not necessarily, all over Europe. And I've taught in Europe. I've taught this process over a dozen times in Amsterdam, France, and England.
wow. So you're a newbie at this. You're a globetrotter of teaching it. That's absolutely awesome. I love it. So if we get into obviously, if you've traveled so many places and actually taught people about this, what gets you fired up as an entrepreneur? Why did you decide to become an entrepreneur over and above just the psychology aspect?
Well, that's an interesting question because I never considered working for anybody else. I've always had an independence, I think, and I very creative person. So that was the only option for me when I got out of college. I went to UC Berkeley and here in California and I got my PhD. And that was what I couldn't imagine going to a corporation or a business. It's always been,
Interesting.
I don't, that's a great question. I just think that that's my nature, is to be somebody who creates her own empire.
That's nice. And so tell me, I'm curious now. Were your parents business oriented or did they have jobs?
Oh, that could be a part of it. No, my parents divorced when I was like 4 or 5 years old. And my mother actually was bipolar and had quite a challenge. And that might be one reason I went into psychology, because she had a mental illness. And so I think, it's just coming to me now, Francois, there could be a way in which I decided early on that in order to make life, I have to be the one to make it happen.
I love it. In order for things to happen in life, I'm the one that needs to make it happen. I love it because this is one of the things that sometimes makes me unpopular at first. Because what I tell people, says, life is not happening to you, it's you that makes it. The day you decide to take responsibility for the things that are happening in your life, that's when you gain the power back. If you're blaming outside circumstances all the time, well, then you've empowered it or them and disempowered you. And right off the bat, at a young age, you decided to take control of it. So you're an entrepreneur at heart from the longest time.
I
And
guess so. And I never really connected the dots. Thank you.
well, it's fun. And that's it. We're playing, we're exploring and finding out more about each other, being vulnerable with our journey. But also, it also points out that you are heart centered and service driven, and you've been for the longest time. This is
Yes.
absolutely great. How about
Yes.
your dad? Was he a business owner or did he have a job or?
No, no, no. Alcoholic.
Oh boy. Yeah, yeah. So excellent. This is so interesting. You've PhD psychology, like this is no minor accomplishment of
Yeah.
someone that did had a dysfunctional family and had some challenges, and yet you persevered and you've been at the top of your game, and now you're sharing with others. What I like about this, Doreen, is that a lot of people say, "Oh, I'm only 5'2", or I'm 6'4", or I'm too heavy, or I'm too skinny, or I'm too young, or I'm too old," and always putting these things out and blaming the outside for what's
Mhm.
happening in our lives. You did not do it, and you took the bull by the horn, literally, and you made something really nice. And I'm sure that this is very powerful.
Yeah.
Because usually, as far as people go in business, they had some influence, but you came from inside. So you're a true blue entrepreneur. No offense, but school has this tendency to discourage people from being entrepreneurs. Why? Because they say, unless you know what to do, if you studied well and you know the answers to my test, then you're either going to fail or you're dumb. And so people are afraid to fail, and they don't want to go into the unknown. And that's exactly what needs to be for entrepreneurs. We need to fail again and again and again, and then find out from those failures, quote unquote. I call them more experiences that we have. They're failures only if we don't learn from them.
Yes.
And then we pick ourselves back up, and then have someone maybe pick us up sometimes if we're in too many pieces. And then
Uh-huh.
we get back at it, and we make a difference. But this is actually, you're my first guest that has the entrepreneurial build from so young. Most people, it's a struggle to become an entrepreneur, to fight that
Mhm.
stigma that I said from school that says, unless you know, be quiet, because otherwise I'll point at you and says, hey, you're dumb or something. And that stopped a lot of people. And
Well,
they,
I think that at least in my profession, and maybe this is why early on I picked psychology, because look at it is, and it's more of an entrepreneurial. It's like being a doctor, or I mean, it's
it
not
is.
like I am a doctor.
You
Excuse
are.
me,
You are. Yeah.
I
Don't
forget
diminish that. You are.
that. So in a way, I think that even school didn't actually do the kinds of things like I have to be somebody else other than I am. I think school helped me define that I can have my own practice. I could have my own life. I could make my own business. And it was up to me.
Wow. No, seriously, you're strong inside, and don't let anybody take this away from you. I speak to many entrepreneurs, and just the words that you've spoken is yeah, it's amazing. Most people will just curl over and suck their thumb and do nothing. And there you are from both background, mother and father having being challenged there, and you made it happen. This is absolutely great. So what the thing that gets you fired up about it? What is it? Is it to make a difference?
Oh,
Was it for
ah,
you? Let me know. Yeah, explain to us.
oh, I love that question. I love that question about getting fired up, because you have really a great personality, and there is fire, but I have to tell you, there's also kind of a quieter way in which I am in awe, right? I would say that maybe what brings me awe, and in your language it would be fired up, is that look at what's so magnificent inside of that human being. and
Mm.
they don't know it, but I can sense it. I can see it. And not just because I've been trained to listen it out of people, but I feel like I have a natural tendency in something just about who I am that uh, loves to discover. And that's the same thing about what I said about traveling. What can I discover about the best things that are inside this human being? And they may not know it, but let me help them discover it.
Wow, I love this. This is so nice. Yeah, and again, remember what I said? You just talked about something that most people never realize. Inside of us, we had marvelous potential. It's
Yes,
each and every one of us has it, but it's buried down with virus code, limiting beliefs, and all those stuff that
yeah,
sometimes is self-imposed, sometimes by others.
uh-huh.
But yet inside, you said, and it's unfortunately for the people that are not seeing and just hearing us, you should have seen Doreen's face light up when she says, I'm in awe with the potential that's inside someone. We can genuinely feel that she's really interested and she knows it's true. It's not just lip service. You actually believe it. And I'm sure because you do, you must help people in such a better way because you do believe it. And
Yeah.
at first, if they don't believe it, they can borrow your belief in them,
Ah.
and then once it starts to grow, then they can have their own and then rely on you a little bit less and then be, I guess, say, flying off the nest.
Oh, you just pointed to something very specific. When people start with me, sometimes it's oh, I don't believe I could really do this. And then I work with them a little bit and I confront them around that belief. And then it's like, well, I wish I could. And then I have to work with that. And then it's like, well, maybe I can. And because that's the first step, is helping people believe. But you're right, I think I hold the belief first, because so many people don't believe, and then they see somebody listening to them, honoring them, and being fascinated by them, and believing in who they can be. That's very powerful, I think, in the work that I do.
Absolutely. I think is pivotal in the work that you do because at
Mhm.
first, and let's put a something on the table here that is of interest to me, anyways. A lot of people feel, and I want you. This is a tangent. We're just going somewhere else here. We're dancing together. A
Uh-huh.
lot of people feel that if sometimes they are inadequate or something, they just try to brush that under the carpet and says, "I'm not going to go see a psychologist because I'm not broken." And I'm. It's not about being broken. I think it's about being fine-tuned to a higher performance. Can you touch on this? That it's there seems to be this stigma that says, oh, if I go see, for example, Doreen, is because there's something wrong with me, or is it? I like to say it's because no, I discovered there's more out of me. I need help to get it out. If you can, I don't know exactly. There's this stigma sometimes in society says, oh, you're broken. What are you doing? It's not that. Can you help people understand this, if possible, or
Yeah.
I hope that makes sense?
Yeah, I think for sure that is something that's come out of our society, is that you've got a problem and you don't want to admit it. So you got to like sneak in the back door to go see a psychologist and not tell anybody about it. But thank goodness in the 70s, 60s, 70s, the psychology started to take on a whole new uh, frame, which is positive psychology. So I think now it is much more around growth opportunity for people. And that I would hope that people who might be believing that there's that kind of idea, ooh, I don't want people to know that I'm going uh, to a psychologist, that they see it more as, ooh, I get to go grow, I get to go improve, I get to go develop myself. And that's how people, I would hope that that's the transition, that they get to see it that way.
Yeah. And again, your face lit up when it says, "I get to grow, I get to get better, I get to improve," and it shows that that's what you really see in front of people, and that's what turns you on to actually make them better. And so, for people that, and you're gonna say, "Oh, that's easy." But people that might not know, what's the difference between a psychologist and a psychiatrist? I think psychiatrist is with pills, and you, it's no pills. Or am I right? Or am I out to
You got
lunch?
it. You got it. One's an MD, and the other is it's more about the mind and the behavior and the spirit. I think is more what a psychologist or what I see myself doing in it. And I just pointed out those three things. Sometimes psychologists only work on the mind. Sometimes they work only on emotions because we have a whole different range of approaches. But what I like to be more holistic, and I like to add spirit or spiritual, the deeper. In fact, what we're going to be talking about is my book, The 7 Secrets to Essential Speaking, but it's about finding the essence of who you are. And so to me, it's more than just the way you think or how you feel. It's who you are at your core, your essence, and learning how to discover that so that then you speak from that place, from
I
your
love it.
essence, from who,
I
like
love
you're saying, hey, Doreen, I see you. Right. So
it.
it's that,
Yes.
and I feel like, oh, I'm in my essence and I get to express myself to you.
This is very nice. So in essence, right now I'm picking up a glass of water, and if basically I'm saying I'm thirsty, and so
Yeah.
I want water. Cheers.
Cheers.
I take a it quenches my thirst, but from the outside. Maybe we
Yes.
say psychology. What you're doing is you're helping people find the well that they have inside of them, and then you make it gush out so that they can quench their thirst from for themselves and an analogy.
Oh, wow. I love that. I do think of the well within, but the way you just anchored it with something real like water, an external, uh, what we just did was, have our little sip here of water. But you're right. That was profound.
Well, that's one of the things I like to do is use things around me and make meaning out of them, make the right brain and left brain come together so that we can have a deeper understanding of what's going on and that we're not broken. It's just I have this thing. I don't know if you ever seen this, and I play with people. It says WIP. And whenever I'm with people, I says, okay, everybody put WIP on your forehead. It says, what is it? It says work in progress. That's what it means. No one's broken. Everybody's work in progress. And as long as we keep working on it, and sometimes we can do it alone, sometimes we need other people like Doreen or like myself. And we
Yeah.
all need someone else. The day we think we know it all is the day we start to fall, is one of my favorite saying. We cannot know. Actually, the more we know, the more we realize we know nothing because there's
That's
so
true.
much more to know. And
Yes.
therefore, relying on specialists, i.e., like you, is something that helps with that silo effect to fix that and make it a foundation so we can build upon rather than being a sandy foundation. So that book that you wrote, what triggered the interest for you to write that book? What happened?
Uh-huh. Well, I mentioned that I had my PhD in psychology, and we've talked about that and how probably I picked psychology because I knew I just have to be with one person at a time. I didn't enjoy speaking in front of groups. I felt like I had stage fright. So, of course, I'm going to avoid it. And I found a profession where I could avoid speaking in public. And there was a time when I had done some research and somebody asked me to speak up at a conference, not just speak up, but be a keynote speaker. And I said, oh, no, not me. And then the person actually confronted me, Francois. He said, isn't fear your business? Yeah. So I point to that as the moment I went, oh, I can't hide anymore. And actually, that was one part of it. And the second part of it was I just started to feel like, yes, I'm working with individuals, but there's so many more people out there I want to reach. And I had this problem called fear of speaking that was keeping me small. And I think I wanted to expand, be bigger, take up more space in the world. And I had to learn how to do that publicly. And so I started with Toastmasters, and that's a great program. I was in it for 7 years, but it still didn't reach, I think, where my fear was lodged. So I went on this inner journey, more of an inner journey, and that's what this book is about what I discovered. And I would say it has much more to do with mindfulness than it does any kind of speaking techniques.
Interesting. Yeah. So being in harmony with you. And
Yes.
that's yeah, and that's how it can come out. If you're in harmony with you, then you're not fighting anymore. But
Yes. And you're
tell
not
me,
afraid. You're not
yeah.
afraid to express who you are because you're comfortable.
So let me know that person that confronted you and wanted you to be a keynote speaker. Did you go and speak there?
Oh, no.
Oh,
No, no, no.
uh, do you do some keynote speeches sometimes?
Oh, yeah, I just, yeah, I would just spoke
Little
at a to 100 people at, a conference for writers, finding their voice, not their writing voice, but so many writers have to go out to events or, podcasts even, or video, and they're afraid to speak. So here they've got this wonderful book that they've put their heart and soul in, but they can't speak about it. So I was a keynote speaker at the Sonoma County Writers Conference. Yes.
cool. So here you are from someone that's terrified of speaking, being confronted with it, and then doing something about, and all of a sudden, now not all of a sudden, but through trial challenges, trying outside, inside to figure it out. Next thing you know, you're speaking to 100 people and making a difference in their lives. What I want
Yes.
to point out with this is everybody listening right now is that what Doreen did is she had some challenges and she decided to face them. And
Yes.
it was not easy, but she did it. And now others saying, hey, I've done this. You can take the steps you have taken. You're not teaching from a book saying, oh, this book says this. You're teaching from your book inside of your heart, and you understand
Ooh.
how people feel. So, and to me, this is the difference between being a teacher and being someone that transform lives. If you rhetorically, sorry, I'm French, just if you have a book and you go through the lesson, it's different than if you have lived it. When you live it, people can feel it, and I can feel that you've went through it, and this is absolutely amazing. Now, if I may, to again, everybody's speaking. On the contrary, myself, when I was 7 years old, my mom put me into a diction and learning poems and texts that I needed to recite in front of 25 of my peers every week. I was 7 years old. My mom instilled in me, you can do this. Yes, go for it. And okay. So I was doing it. By the end, there was only 8 of us left. But I can tell you that this guy is not afraid of public speaking ever. You tell me right now, I got to go speak in front of 10,000 people. I says, about what? And let's do it. And people says, well, what happened? I'm 61 and I was 7 when I started. And,
Yeah.
and I had a nurturing coach, my mom, that would practice with me all the time and to make sure that I had it right. And then the more, and I'm not saying that I'm perfect by all strength, but I'm not afraid of speaking because I paid the price. And all this to say that in life, I don't know if you heard, we're either a Mozart or a Beethoven. A Beethoven is someone, did you know that Beethoven struggled at each and every note that he wrote for all his symphonies, each and every note?
Yeah, I heard that.
And Mozart, who was just sitting down and he couldn't write fast enough because it was downloaded into his mind.
Uh-huh.
There's Mozarts and Beethovens in life, and there's not one better than the other. They all
Right.
amazing symphony that they created. But having
Yeah.
help from others sometimes is so powerful, and it's not. And the last thing I want to say: never compare yourself to someone. There's only one of you. There's only one of you, so there's nothing to compare. It's just you that gets better all the time. And if you don't like what you see or what you get, change it. Take responsibility and go see people like Doreen or myself and make it a difference. But it's an interesting, I'm not saying this to impress people, but rather to impress upon each and every one of us.
Uh-huh.
Everybody is born naked and upside down, crying. And everything else that we do, we learn it. through the nurturing and the different exchanges that we have with people around us. And then whatever we nurture with our heart or helped by others to nurture, then we grow. And then our talents and abilities are actually discovered. Because I
Uh-huh.
was reading about you, do you like this word? People says, "Oh, I have to create myself," and this, and I like with your angle. And please expand on this. It's not create yourself; it's discover who you are. Can you expand on this?
Yeah, well, they're that's what it's all about is, what is that phrase? Know thyself, isn't that something
Yes,
that, well, so what does that mean? It means first you have to learn how to do the inner work. You have to be able to feel like there's, you have a path, and along that inner path, you come up against what the blocks. And so, yes, discovering yourself. But again, it goes back to belief. Uh, Most people don't understand or believe that in their core, their essence, their being is their true power. And they are trying to impress, or they do all sorts of, whatever it is, techniques to express themselves. But I really believe that down deep inside of each one of us is where who we truly are. And that's where our magnificence is, and that's where our voice is. And my podcast, Find Your Voice, Change Your Life, I've already done almost 100 episodes. People will hear others who have struggled with finding their voice, and their journey to find it. And I think it's an inner journey.
absolutely. I love what you just said, such as so basically you're not living your life from the outside, from the outside in, but rather from the inside out.
Yes. Yeah.
And when we do that, it's so liberating because we don't need to compare anymore. It comes from us. But at first, it must be scary. What are some of the tips maybe we can talk about? As I said, hey, we're going to go everywhere with this podcast. What is it that you can tell someone? They start to go in, and now they say, "Oh yeah," and whoa, is this real me? Like, and now they
Oh,
start to
yeah.
go. I
Uh-huh.
maybe you can comment. I see pictures all the time, so sometimes words don't come out. Most times, people have the desire to jump and do something, but then they wait. And when they wait before they jump, then fear and doubt grabs them, and they never get to jump. So I say, jump and figure it out on the way down, instead of not going and being stuck and not taking any action. Because once we go inside, a lot of people find it scary because it's like you're alone now. There's no one else. It's not a Netflix movie. It's not you're alone.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, that's why I would say that this whole idea of those of us who are trained on how to do an inner journey, right? And we know the path. We've been there. We know the signposts, and we are, I think, the best guides for this inner journey. And it's a trust process. I think that you're so right. Somebody just to, well, you could do journaling, but when people start to encounter the most frightful things about themselves, or the shame that they might feel, then it's hard to, you have to have some kind of support in doing that, whether it's somebody like us or it's a book, that's helping guide them. But I think that, yeah, the inner journey is fraught. But if at the end of the tunnel, there's a light and you just have to keep going toward, it's like a beacon, and that beacon is actually, Francois, that beacon is you inside calling you to find yourself.
That's amazing. Isn't that amazing? You're going inside to find it, then you find you. This is great. This is interesting. Now, I like when you talk about fear and anxiety, and I like to go down this little path here and explain this. When we were like caveman or whatever, the fear was that you go in the forest and a lion can jump you or something. Like the fear was really rear of outside things. Unless you're not living in the civilized part of the world right now, there's no tiger in the bush that's going to jump you. So the fear now is more in our heads than it is outside of you. Of course, don't go in a dark alley, New York City at 3 a.m. on Friday night. This would be foolish. You'd better be afraid. And if you're not, you're foolish. But you understand what I'm saying. As far as fear, when people say, oh, I'm afraid people will reject me. Okay, yeah. So let's go down that path. What's going to happen? Well, they're going to, and then are they going to throw rocks? No, no. And it's interesting how the fears that are experienced by people are so much more, for lack of a better word, mental or imagined rather than real, tangible, like sticks and stones. Can you elaborate on this?
Yes, there's a book, Rewire the Anxious Brain by Pittman and Carl. They're researchers, and they talk about, because you're pointing to the brain, they talk about how this part of the brain, the frontal cortex, is different than this part of the brain. So fear gets lodged back here, and that's the tiger and the predator is about to get to us. So it's a deeper kind of fear than just a thought. Oh, somebody isn't going to like me, or I'm going to get rejected, or the judgment. And this part of the brain cannot say to this part of the brain, oh, just it's no big deal. This part of the brain doesn't believe that. And so the work that I do is to help people. It's a whole different process than just change your mind, change your life. It's about, that's why mindfulness is a deeper kind of process. And my first step in my first secret in the book that I'm talking about is be silent, be still. Learn how to quiet your body, learn how to quiet the mind. And that's not from this part of the brain. It works on that deeper part of the brain, the amygdala, where you're training your body to be still and to be more at ease. So that voice comes up and flows.
Interesting. I loved it. And how interesting. It says, be silent, be still, be relaxed, be more calm. I am a Canadian champion gold medalist in Taekwondo, martial arts.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that, what I'm saying is that whenever you're in a competition, if you calm yourself down and if
Yes,
you
yes,
relax,
yes.
when you
Yes.
do that, it seems that the other is slowed down, and then you can act in rather than react. If you're all you're constantly reacting, you're gonna get hurt. But slowing down enables us to grasp more awareness of what's going on, and then we act rather than react. And so just
Absolutely. You and I are so on the same page. Yes.
that's why we connected.
Yes.
And actually, interestingly enough, ladies and gentlemen, we had technical difficulties meeting, challenges on files, transferring this and that. And then when that happens, I always and we life's got no meaning but the meaning you give unto it. And the
Yes.
meaning I decide to give to these situations is then this must happen. It's important. There's things that are trying to stop it right now, and people need to hear this message. So we need to get together, and we're here. And so
Yes.
this is and I got shivers, not on my hair here, but here, just
Yeah.
feeling it. Yes, absolutely.
Mhm.
This is so
Yeah.
cool. I love it. And you're
Yeah.
making such a big difference. So
Thank you.
let's switch gear a little bit here and says, what do you love most about what you do and why?
Well, I think I've touched on that. What I love
Yeah.
most is the feeling of love,
Oh, that's powerful.
because I feel like, because I know what's possible inside of people, and I know their beauty, their strength inside. To me, it's like art. I get to be with this human being that inside is going to blossom, and it's beauty. And I think that partly how I do it is from my heart. I think it's not, I'm not fake. I think I really do love, and I think my work comes from loving what is. I know that's a book Byron Katie has written, Love What Is, but I think that's, and I don't judge. And I think that I love creating, you might call it inspired learning environments where people can grow. I've never had children myself, but I feel like I've got some kind of way of bringing to people. Uh, I don't know. It's kind of hard to see myself as a mother of people, but
Why
uh,
not?
the sense of being able to guide, to be able to nurture, to be able to love them into existence.
Okay, I'm gonna rock your world now, Doreen. You said I've never been a mother. Just a second. There's a mother, biological mother, and they never take care of their kids ever. And
That's
then
true.
there's a mother like you that is actually giving birth to someone's new potentiality, and you're nurturing it, and you're making them grow. You're a mother more than you think. You don't need to be
Thank
a
you.
yeah, yeah, of course, of course. That you see, life got no meaning but the meaning we give onto it. But let's be
Yes.
real. A mother is
Yes.
someone that nurtures and helps, grows, and discover. I love my mom. She's 91 years old, and unfortunately, she's going down. But
Uh-huh.
I'm smiling. I tell you this. You say I'm smiling all the time. Tribute to my mom. When I was a kid, I used to pout a lot,
Uh-huh.
and she used to say, "Francois, smile. When you smile, life is much better." Yeah, 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 yeah. And then she kept repeating it. And now everybody that sees me says, "Man, you can have your feet in manure and look at the sunset and say, tomorrow's going to be a wonderful day."
Yeah.
Because I know,
Pure, you're pure positive.
I love it. It's and it's a way of living. I was talking to my wife and say, what? How come people get so discouraged about small things sometimes? I said, so it's because you're not like everybody. You've been trained. 43 years I've studied this stuff and
Uh-huh.
applying it, because to know and not to do is not yet to know. So we need to start learning and doing things. Hence, I believe that's why, Doreen, when people come and see you, you said first they don't believe. Then they
Yes.
start to say maybe there's hope. So you're nurturing them along the way. And as you nurture them, they get to believe more in themselves. So
Yes.
that in of itself is a creation that you're doing for them and with them.
Yes. I really like the feedback. Thank you.
My pleasure. Funny, Reina says, I'm only 4'11. Love this. Thank you. And I said you can be tall, tall. And absolutely, it doesn't matter the size. It's the size of the heart that determines the size of the winner. That's absolutely.
I think what you just said, the size of the heart, and that's what you asked, what I love about what I do and what brings me pleasure, is that I feel like it's my heart. My heart is it's who I am and what I need to be doing in this world, and why I'm here is I've got a heart that wraps around and embraces people, and
That's
that's
awesome.
fun.
Interestingly enough, if we unpack this, it says the size of the heart. I think that everybody's got a big heart. It's just that they don't know it yet.
Hmm.
The ones that are doing are making things happen. The ones that don't may not as shine their light. They're literally, you said this spirituality, they're literally hiding it beyond the bushel. Don't do that. Put it on the mountain so that
Yeah.
people can see and you can be a light for others. And that's what you
Mhm.
are, being a
Yeah.
light for others to say, hey, your light can shine too. And that's awesome. I
Yeah.
love it. I love it. So we talked about challenges, but the essence of this podcast is vulnerability also,
Mhm.
that you'll express now as what's the biggest challenge that you faced in your professional life and how did you overcome it? And before you answer, the reason I'm saying this is that all entrepreneurs listening to this right now, when people ask us, how's it going? We go, it's going great. But we know
Uh-huh.
that we have to work like crazy and sometimes late nights, and sometimes things are supposed to fly and they crash and burn, and we have to pick ourselves back up. And we're not necessarily sharing that with others. But on this podcast, that's what we're doing, sharing a time where you said, man, I want to quit this thing. Like, I don't want, and then the reason you didn't quit is that you're here now. And so to give everybody a hope that even though we have different challenges, we all have challenges, but it's possible to overcome them. So, in the light of that pre-framing, can you tell us when was it a challenge that you had that you almost want to stop, quit, or it was very challenging, and how did you overcome it?
Well, there's two ways I could answer that. The first would be around the work that I do, but it sounds like you're really wanting to talk more about being an entrepreneur and the business aspect
Okay. Yes, if that's
of
okay
what
to
I
make it
do.
10,000
Okay.
feet.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Yeah. The business of being a professional entrepreneur and having no no other option but making a living the way that I love to do. All right, so the challenge, I would say, yeah, the challenge is all the technological changes. I've had 3 different websites so since I've started all of this, and so that uh, it's just so much to learn, even getting on StreamYard with you, and internet challenges. I would say that I'm in my family, I told you my mother was somewhat debilitated. I had a younger sister. So I was the one who would go and figure out how to change light bulbs, how to, fix things that were broken in my house. So I am really, really good at figuring things out. But oh, there's so much to figure out when you have your own business. That's I love doing my work, but to actually run the business is a whole different thing. And it would just be great to have somebody, I've said that I'm an entrepreneur and I work for myself, but this part that is um, working really, really hard to figure out all the social media posts and what size of a picture has to be. And so it's more about, well, calendar. How do people book on my calendar? How do I get paid? What's the best? Do I use Stripe, PayPal, Venmo? So I would say that
Look at you. Stripe, PayPal, Venmo. You did some research.
well, I've been running my own business. I am my CEO.
There you go.
And
Excellent.
I'm my accountant. I'm the whatever you do when you do tech stuff. There's a whole whatever that one is. I'm everything. I'm everything in my business. And although I have an assistant, and I have to tell you that's made all the difference in the world. Is
Excellent.
sometimes I
Excellent.
sometimes I get on social media and I go, "Wow, that's a great image," and I realize she made it for me.
So you've touched a point which is good for all entrepreneurs right now. You're good at what you do, and then you have some challenges, and then you decide to say, now I have a professional assistant. So
Yes.
you started to delegate things that were hampering your ability to produce what you are great at. And so one of the things I say to entrepreneurs, when overwhelm starts to hit you, but
Yes.
not just a bit, because we can be overwhelmed, it needs to be a lot of overwhelm. That's the time that you need to start to delegate and do other things. That is the tipping point that people are looking for. And by that I mean my dad was a doctor, and he said, in life you have two choices, black and white a little bit. They said two choices.
Uh-huh.
If you make it hard when you start, it's going to be easy for a long time. If you make it easy when you start, it's going to be hard for a long time. So, in essence, what he was saying is we need to pay the price. And there's no such thing as I have it right here. There's no such thing as an easy button. You cannot pay someone to do push ups for you. You need to do them yourself. But once you do them yourself, they're yours and no one will ever be able to take it away. But once you start to do things and you push, and then you get really overwhelmed, now is a sure sign that delegation is on the agenda for you to start to delegate things and give control to others that are good. And one of the ways that I like to say to this is that if you're good at what you do, guess what? Other people are good at what they do. So let them be. And so together they grow and you grow. And everybody can serve more people by doing this. So thanks for sharing that thing of that tech is because it's hard for many people. But there's others, the young
Yeah. Mhm.
do things. I have a team, and they're the main thing. And so together we make more things because, as I said, the day you think you know it all is the day you start to fall. So we need to rely on others as well. So thanks for sharing that thing that you've decided to stick around even though it was hard. So, but
Yeah.
what's the biggest lesson that you've learned from this challenge?
It's actually what you just said right there, is that if we're talking about the business aspect of it, that if I'm going to step in and do what I love to do, I have to find somebody who knows how to do all of those other things running a business, you might say. Uh, so it's exactly what you just said. Uh,
Excellent. I love it. And so, because we're not alone. And also, if I may, for every business people listening right now, check this out. If you're reluctant to hire someone to help you out, how come then you expect people not to be reluctant to hire you to help them out?
yes,
What
yes,
goes around comes around. Stop stepping on the hose of abundance, wanting to come your way. It wants to come. You're stepping on the hose. Get off the hose. And then flow, because the more we flow, everybody, I say, when the tide rises, all the boats rise together. So let's unplug that dam so that the water can rise, so everybody can go. And so the more we circulate it, the more it grows for everybody. That's
You
such a good
have
thing.
so many great phrases
Actually, I make them
today.
up as I go all the time.
I just am
Serious.
so well. You're so natural at it, and I was just thinking he must say these things all the time. But I am enjoying my time with you because, and this is partly what when I work with people, I get to learn more about life, and so you've just pointed out a few things that I'll be taking away with me today. Thank you.
I have many things that I've learned from you here. I've been taking copious notes as well. Thank you so much for that too. Definitely. No, it's like I
Yeah,
said, I walk the talk. The day you think you know it all, the day you start to fall.
yeah.
Cool. So, in essence of overcoming, in the light of overcoming, what words of encouragement, sorry, or advice would you give a struggling entrepreneur?
Ah,
Something
hmm.
as learn to claim their what? Their true strength?
No, I- I'm I'm listening to myself right now so that I can really find what the truth is that I want to leave as a message and not just make it up. And it's coming to me that, and that's partly, the how do you find your voice as you listen to yourself, like I just did right there. Yes, it would have been nice to just come up with an answer right away, but there wasn't an answer, and I had to pause and I had to listen to myself. So what I believe is, and that's what I believe, that in listening to yourself, you know who you are and you know what your purpose is, what your life is about, what you love, and what your work is about. And I can say that for me, being somebody who does the deeper work of finding your voice as opposed to being a public speaking coach, that I could go do that. I could help people give presentations. I do that anyway, but it's not where I'm really most powerful and strong, is helping people go within to find their voice. And so that staying true to who you are is most important, is what I believe. And that's what I am here today, Francois, with you, is that my truth is that to find your voice, you have to do an inner journey.
And Doreen, you walk the talk because you say to people, hey, if you want to find answers, go inside. I asked you a question, you weren't sure about it. You stopped, you paused, you went inside, and then you came with a great answer. So you're walking the talk of what you how do you say, what you're preaching or what you're teaching, and
Yeah.
you're using it yourself, which to me is the epiphany of a teacher. Someone that walks the talk, not just as I said at the beginning, it's not just a textbook thing, but it's something that you've experienced and experiencing and even using in the midst of an encounter like we have right now in order to find a deeper truth, because you, and this is something I like, because you truly care that the answer, and you said it, I just don't want to lip service the answer. I wanted to give a true answer with me. And you took the time to go down and find it and then express it. Congratulations. Thank you. So you're very true to yourself. You're very in alignment. This is
Thank you.
cool. I love it. I love it. Cool. So do you have a special mission, vision, passion, formula that you can share with the audience, such as a book or something like this?
Yeah, I have my book, but I also have something that people can get right away, and it's called this 7-step guide to fearless speaking. And as I said, the first step is be silent. And people are going to say, well, how does that have to do with speaking? So that's what I think. That's why I call them secrets. So you can find my book on Amazon or my website. But I think the quickest way is for people to go to Doreen 7steps.com, and that's number 7, and it's Doreen, Doreen, Doreen 7steps.com. How easy. They would get the 15-page brochure I have that lays out all seven steps.
If they go to essentialspeaking.com, will they find it there as well?
Yes.
Okay, because the 7 speaking one, I'm not sure I get, but I just put in the chat right now on both LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube, the essentialspeaking.com. That's the link that you can get a hold. It's something that is free that she's offering you to open your mind and your awareness to the journey. And like anything, everybody listening right now, whenever you capture these things that are sort of free, take the time. It's not because it's free that it's just free. The society here with these things goes bing, 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 bing. In this case, a gift that is given to you is only worth it if you unwrap the gift and if you use it. So I can promise you that as you go and do those 7 steps from that 15 pages that Doreen is talking about, and you apply it, then your life will be transformed to the same level that you put into it. And so a little tip that I like to give everybody, I like mindset and skill set a lot, but I realize also that we all need to block off some time. Whenever you take some things like you're going to get from Doreen's website to have that PDF, I believe, of 15 pages, block some time off in your agenda, a time slot that you will go through it. Otherwise, you will not. It will, well, I say, collect digital dust, and that's no good. If it collects digital dust, it does you no good. She put her heart into this. As you unpack it and use it, and as I said, the best way is block some time in your agenda. Ladies and gentlemen, do that. Whenever you're committing to something, block some time, and then you'll reap so many more rewards from this, because it's going to come back multiplied. Absolutely multiplied. Indeed. Cool.
You are so inspirational. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. So talk about inspiration. What legacy would you like to leave to future generations, and why?
Yeah, I would like to leave people with the sense that there is always possibility. I love, there's a book called The Art of Possibility by Benjamin Zander, and I believe in possibility. And after today, I'm really thinking more about positivity, because your positive energy is it infuses me, it infuses people with belief in that there is more that's possible. So that's what I would leave people with, is that positive thought of what, because that has to do with potential, but possible. They talk about that word impossible, and you change it to I'm possible. You probably know that one. Yes.
I love it.
Yeah.
I know, but that's
Yeah.
good. Hey, repetition enables it to be ingrained more and more in us, and that's correct. I'm
Yeah.
possible, not impossible. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And how interesting that it again reverts it back to us taking responsibility. It's I am responsibility. It's not Doreen's responsible. It's not Francois. It's not my wife. No, I am. I'm responsible. But then everything becomes possible when we do that. That's absolutely cool. I love it. And
Thank
so, is there something we talked about? It says speaking is not about learning better performance techniques, but it's about being who you truly are and knowing how to express yourself with deep conviction.
Yeah.
I
Ooh, who said that? That's good.
was going to say, Dr. Doreen Downing said that.
I know it sounded, I know.
Hey,
Yeah.
but and it's so true. And that deep conviction, as you can tell, I'm very passionate. I have 6 kids with of life that is wonderful. Need let's go through life until we die, but let's make some noise, but not stepping on other people's toes, but rather awakening them to the potential that they have so that all humanity can be raised from it. And Doreen, you're a great example of doing that.
Thank you. So are you.
Thank you. So, just for fun, if you had a superpower, that's a question that I like to ask my guests just for fun to lighten things up before we go. If you would have a superpower, what would it be and why?
I think it would be something like singing, that I would be able to, my voice would be able to reach way all corners of the world. And that would be obviously through voice, because that's my thing. But it would be through songs that and melodies and uh, yeah, what I say and what I'm in passion and what I teach is important, but sometimes just music, reaches the soul in a way that I would love to do.
Okay, so I just have an idea. It just popped up right now. You have a YouTube channel?
Oh, yeah.
So how about, and maybe you do this, I'm not sure, and my apologies if you do. How about you have that background music that you feel is inspiring and you have it in the background while you say videos on things that are powerful so that you would merge both what you've just said of singing and having a clear message and you put them together so you can soothe the people? Because you and I both know that if we calm the people, then their resistance just goes down and then we can get to speak to them in a better way. Because if they're alert and they don't want to listen, then they're sort of fighting us. But if we relax, then it opens up the channel of communication at a deeper level.
Lovely.
So
Lovely.
perhaps that could be
Yes.
something to use. And see, so now you're going to be singing worldwide because YouTube is around the world.
Yes, the music.
That's awesome. Excellent. Cool. So thank you so much. If there is there anything else that you is there any special, I don't know, presentation? Do you have something that's coming up soon that you'd like to people to know about or
Well, what I do, and I just had right before I got on with you, an individual, I do 30-minute coaching calls. And I think that a lot of times people like to get a sense of me. So that's also, they can find that on the website. Also,
essentialspeakings.com?
yeah, but also the podcast. And that's findyourvoicechangeyourlife.com. And like I said, I've done 12 almost 100 interviews on my podcast of people. They're about 20-minute 30-minute interviews with people who have struggled to find their voice. And it's everything from people who come from dysfunctional families to people who have been in corporate environments and have had to shut up and not speak up, to people who have never had a fear of speaking in public, but who feel like they haven't really lined up with the passion of who they truly are.
Cool. So I just put podcast link, findyourvoicechangeyourlife.com. So we
Yes.
have it on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. So that's awesome. Excellent. Well, Doreen, thank you coming at an hour. See, time flies
Yeah,
when we're having fun. Thank you so much for
it
sharing with
does.
us and sharing from the heart. Thank you also for the congruity that you have of the message that you speak and also the way that you portray. For example, he says, hey, go down inside in order to find answers. And then you did it right here on the podcast. You went inside to find the answers. You're
Yeah.
walking the talk. You're so genuine. I appreciate you. Thank you for making a difference. It is absolutely love you. Thank you for being here, Doreen.
Thank you. Thank you.
And so for everybody, again, it's Francois from How to Become More podcast. Don't forget, someone is waiting for you. Your message, someone needs to hear it, and they can only hear it from you. Keep on going. Be fired up about what you're doing. Be voiceful about what you're doing. Don't put a lid on it. Just broadcast it out. People are waiting for you. I encourage you to be fired up and make a difference in the world. And until next time, make it a great day. Thank you so much and have a great week. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you.